Welcome back to Armchair Generals. This is Nova Star here. We've got my co-host El Scotcho and Crash. We are continuing our discussion on the factions of the Imperium. We're going to be starting off with the Adeptus Sororitas, or known to us old players as the Sisters of Battle. They are the military arm of the Ecclesiarchy, which is the cult around that worships the Emperor in the far future. So you'll see things as like priest, armored clad
Missionaries.
nuns is another example people like to call them. You'll have a lot of like religious motifs, and they'll have saints and things like that. Um, but they're super 40k. They are all about burning the heretic
Yes.
and
They
bringing
use
fire and brimstone.
they use three main types of ranged weapons, and that is bolters, flamethrowers, and melta guns.
The Holy Trinity, as they call them.
Yes.
Burn the heretic, burn the witch. I know I've been interested in Sisters with their recent expansion of models and rules and everything like that.
Well, the new line is gorgeous.
Oh, the models are fit. Yeah, the models are gorgeous. I've been thinking about using them for my Crusade army, get a couple boxes of Sisters, maybe a Penitent engine box, a few other things. What would you suggest there?
Well, we've talked about some other factions, or say like a horde with lots of infantry, or more elite and mechanized. The Sisters, I think, really find that sweet spot in mechanized. You're gonna probably do your best on the table with a really good mixture of vehicles and infantry, because their vehicles just totally rock, and their infantry are really awesome. But I think it's when they're working together that you're going to get your best results, and they look stunning. And when you're wanting to forge that narrative and tell the story.
Yeah, I can't think about army. I apologize. So.
Oh, no worries. Each of their vehicles just looks like a mini monastery rolling by, and you have these like brutal battle nun warriors like chanting and praying at the vehicle and destroying the enemy. It just looks so cool.
It is a very stylized army.
Yeah, they definitely, speaking from a painting aspect, they benefit from a really strong color choice. Something dark, but to be honest, I mean, you can make them look good in almost anything. With these new models, they're just, oh man, so good. And
something that I like as a parent is the models aren't like hyper overly sexualized. Like I would let my daughter play this army because she can, associate with it. That she sees these amazing warrior women who aren't being objectified just for their body. They're in, form-fitting armor that, with the 40k flair, looks like would actually be on the battlefield.
Yeah, they're not trashy or anything like that. That's actually a really good point. I think they did a really good job being respectful and showing these super tough and vital women that, I mean, they can go toe to toe with any army in the game right now. As far as I understand, the meta of the game right now. But we'll see.
I mean, they're super strong. They have great rules, great weapons. They have a unique prayer mechanic to where they literally are using their faith as a weapon, and they believe their faith is going to shield them from this laser blast, and it does. It's really awesome.
And they're not just female space marines.
Yeah.
Which provides a good stepping stone, because I mean, I would love to see a greater variety of people playing 40k, Warhammer in general. And it's a good stepping stone for a lot of women to have a female-friendly army, that they can, look at first. And I've known a few women, especially online, that play 40k, and most of them play Eldar or they play Sisters of Battle because it's something that appeals more to them. But if you ask them a stepping stone into the hobby, most of them...
That's what they identify with, right? Like they're able to see this model and be like, hey, that could be me.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now the people who do that with Tyranids and Orcs, I don't know if I can help you, but...
Guess I'm beyond hope then, Nova.
That's right.
But it does provide a good stepping stone to get more people into the hobby, especially, younger people. Sisters of Battle are not... Space Marines are a very clean army as well, but Sisters of Battle are also a very clean army in the sense there's not like a lot of evil iconography or anything like that. And so it provides a good stepping stone for the younger crowd as well. I mean, I know we were all about 13, 14 when we started playing, and my little brother was 11 when he started playing. And armies like that do provide a good stepping stone.
Yeah, we did get Secretary Nidbate started young.
He played Raptors with a terrible paint job, but he painted them himself.
Yeah, he sure did, and he had a boatload of them. Still does, if I remember correctly.
Go.
Now that we've talked about the sisters, El Scotcho, do you want to talk about the Noble Sons of Titan?
Yes, absolutely. I really, really like the Grey Knights, always have. They are a Space Marine faction, but they are super specialized in fighting demons. Every one of them is psychic to a greater or lesser degree, and they receive the toughest training of any of the Space Marine chapters, arguably, and really specialize in fighting demonic entities of all sorts, and to the point where they rarely deploy in large numbers, and they just really help other armies and war zones fight demonic incursions.
And sadly, they've definitely been the ocean of 40K. And I mean, when I say that is they've either been awesome, cresting at this high wave, or they've been really bad in the low. There's like no in between for them. They're either super good or super bad, like in their rules.
I just remember getting my butt kicked by them in what, fourth edition when they first got their own codex. Might have been
third edition. They got the Demon Hunters Codex, and that's when you could like ally in, like, oh, we're requisitioning Guard and Space Marines. Was really good, and then they waned, and then in fifth edition they got the Matt Ward Grey Knight book, and you couldn't go to a tournament without seeing like the top 10 people being Grey Knights.
Good old Valdor Drago. He's still around, but he's not near as powerful as he was, at least more balanced, I think. But they are, I think, more than any other faction, they are the knight in shining armor. And I know we'll cover knights of a different flavor here, but I mean, literally their color scheme is burnished steel, and they've got nice big swords and pole arms, and some of them even have hammers, but and they love to just whack those demons and shoot them and splat them all over the board. It's kind of a sight to see.
And each of the factions that we're discussing in this segment work with an arm of the Inquisition. The Sisters of Battle work with the Order Hereticus, hunting witches and traitors and heretics. The Grey Knights work with the Ordo Malleus of the Inquisition, and they specialize in hunting down demons. And the Death Watch, which Nova Star will be covering in a moment, work with the Ordo Xenos, hunting down aliens. So each one specializes in a specific enemy of the Imperium and works with a specific branch of the Inquisition.
And so the Death Watch, the alien hunters, they're almost a cross. You could take the Marine unit from the movie Aliens, the Night's Watch from Game of Thrones, make them into Space Marines, and that's what you had. You had this last bulwark for humanity, watching out and going against the threat of the aliens, and then they're literally going to the planets with the Tyranid and Orc infestations, and they're just doing surgical strikes, causing down havocs, nuking it from orbit because it's the only way. They're just super duper cool. They are all recruited from different Space Marine chapters. Uniquely, a Space Marine chapter will find it an honor to send off a battle brother, usually a veteran. They'll go do some service in the Death Watch for a while. 9 out of 10 times they'll go back to their chapter and then teaching their brothers like all these cool skills they picked up. Sometimes they'll stay with the Death Watch depending on the needs of that watch fortress.
Yeah, or sometimes the Space Wolves will send more like 10, but that's just because that's how they do it.
Well, all the chapters actually send more, but they usually won't fight together. They'll go to different watch fortresses around the Imperium.
Yeah.
It sounds like a massive expenditure of resources to spread them all around.
If anything, the Imperium is. It is a massive expenditure of resources.
That's very true.
That's true. 2-mile light cruisers, actually almost 3-mile light cruisers. I was looking at the Dauntless light cruiser the other night, and it's just shy of 2.8 miles long.
That's the small one.
That's the small capital ship. Why?
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Battleship is like 10 miles long.
Because in the Imperium, bigger is better.
Oh, yes.
and for the orcs.
That's true.
That's true.
And
if you have an orc infestation, you're going to call the Death Watch.
Yes.
And they have specialized units and specialized weapons for fighting aliens. They are super cool. And they will be who I will be doing on the show as our Crusade Force.
Thoughts, El Scotcho?
Just that they're really fun to paint, actually, because you're not stuck painting the same thing over and over again. I mean, most people build it to where their Death Watch squads have a good mix of guys from different chapters. So, yes, they're all going to be wearing your Death Watch black and have a silver arm, but they're always going to get to paint a little bit something different on that one shoulder pad so that you don't have to paint the same color all the time. That's some folks find that a little boring as you get into the hobby more, where you're painting the same thing over and over and over again. And so that kind of gives you a little bit of relief from that. And also, they've got some cool lore. The short stories with Death Watch in them are usually pretty entertaining.
I mean, it's totally true. If you're finding a really hard time trying to choose that chapter you like, because like, oh, I like their robes, I like their fur, I like their blood motif, as the three of us are, our background pictures. Death Watch are a really good solution, because then it lets you kind of cherry pick some bits from this army, some bobs from that army. It can make a very unique looking kill force, while also having, satisfying a bunch of different likes that you may have with the Space Marines.
And they operate very similarly to the regular Space Marines on the battlefield, but even more of an elite army. Their basic troops, as Nova mentioned, are veterans. So they're, higher number of attacks, higher leadership, better weapon options. You can customize each squad with all kinds of different weaponry. So they're highly adaptable. You can gear them up to take down enemy infantry, enemy vehicles, enemy monsters, pretty much whatever you want your Death Watch squad to do, you can build them to do it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And they have one of the coolest weapons in the game. It's a combination heavy bolter and heavy flamethrower.
I like the frag cannon.
It's literally the Ellen Ripley special.
Yes, it really is.
Just Space Marine size. Hey, and thanks for joining us on the Armchair Generals, and we will see you next time on our discussion about the Imperium. And remember, blood for the Blood God and skulls for the Skull Throne.
And cut.